वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जन्माद्यस्य तोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थे भिघ्नस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया मनश्च भद्रं भजता दधोक्षजे आविश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter number 5, verse number 1. So we read in the previous chapter about Daksha, how he performed the austerities and Lord manifested himself to him and blessed him to get married for procreation. So this story continues here in this chapter. So Sukha Uvacha, Sukadeva Goswami said, Tasyam sapanchjanyam vai Vishnu mayopagandhitaha Hariyasva sangyanayatam putranayanayad vibhu. So as he was ordered by the Lord that he should marry a Sikni daughter of Prajapati Panchajana, accordingly he married a Sikni, who is also called Panchajani, or daughter of King Panchajana, and she is called as Tasyam Panchajanyam Vai Vishnu Maya Brahmita, being impelled by the Maya of Vishnu. He created 10,000 sons, and these sons were called Hariyasva. All of them, for convenience sake, had one name. It's like in the West sometimes we have like George 1, George 2, George 3, Charles 1, Charles 2. So they were Hariyasva 1, Hariyasva 2, Hariyasva 3. Simple. Otherwise, who is going to remember so many names? So all were called Hariyasva. अपृथक धर्मशीलास्ते सर्वे दाक्षायणान्विता. and all of them, they had similar nature. Nature was not different from each other. If one guy feels hungry, all feel hungry. It's like the twins you have seen, how they always hang around together, do things together. So like that, these were also 10,000 people always together. And same nature, same desires, no dissension among them. This is the most difficult thing in the material world, that even two brothers can have same nature and function together. But it is described here that they were aprithak dharmasila. Not only that they were together, but their dharma, their nature was completely same. All of them, Dakshayana, the son of Daksha, Pitra Proktaha Prajasarge Pratichim Prayurdisham. And then they were ordered by their father that he should also engage in creation. So they went to west. They traveled to west to perform tapasya, because if they have to create, then they must be controlled in their senses. Otherwise you can create nonsense, which is happening at present. Right? So to create good people, to create anything good, you have to have good mind. You want to write good poetry, you want to write a good book, good painting, you have to have good mind. Otherwise, there was a exhibition of art painting, and two kids were going around, and then there was a section for modern art. And they saw one thing, all different types of lines here and there, and they said, let's run away from here before somebody comes and blames us. So they were performing tapasya for procreation. So where did they go? It says, Tatra Narayana Sarastirtham Sindhu Samudrayo Sangamo Yatra Sumahan Muni Siddha Nishevit. So they went to western part of India, and there is a big lake called Narayana Lake, which is a holy place, and this is a meeting of the river Sindhu and sea. So Sindhu Samudriyo Sangamo Yatra, and this is a very auspicious place where great sages, perfected beings, they come and take dip in this lake. Tadupsparshanadeva vinurdhutamalashayaha dharme paramhansya cha protpannamatiyokyuta. So just by touching the water of this lake, they became completely clean in their heart. And their mind was actually situated in Paramhans Dharma, which means renounced. But they were supposed to produce, which is just the opposite of Paramhans Dharma. Because Paramhansas don't create children. So he says that they had good intelligence, Protpannamati, and which was fixed in Paramhans Dharma. And this was the problem. Tepire tapa eva ugram pitra adeshena yantritaha praja vivruddhe yattan devarshitan dadarsha. So they engaged in very severe tapasya, austerities, as they have been ordered by their father. So who will do that now if somebody's father tells you fast? Yes, I get lost. So they followed their father's order and they were all together fasting, being under the control of the order, and that was also, that was for the Praja Vivriddhi, for increasing the population of the world. So Yattan Devarshi Stan Dadarshi. At that time Devarshi Narada, he saw them, or somehow he came to know about it by his yogic powers. And I thought, what these guys are doing? They are going on the wrong path. They are not qualified for getting married and having children and looking for a job, making some money and educating their children. So they are not fit for that. They are fit for something higher. So therefore he comes to them. So there is not much comment on these verses. Sri Vishnath says that Vachaha Kutena Haryaswan Anyanschakrita Vaishnavan Panchame Narada Shapta Sadakshinati Varnate. Says in the 5th chapter, it is described how Narada, by his what you call Vachakuta, mysterious words, he turned Haryashvas, 10,000.
Spell?
Not spell. He asked them some questions which were filled with meaning. So had some deeper inner meaning which they were unable to answer. And by this he made them Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. And then 1,000 more were created by Daksha, and he did the same to them also. And after that he goes to see Daksha after turning his 11,000 sons away from him. So Daksha gets very angry and curses him. This is the subject matter of the 5th chapter. So Tatra Dishi Narayana Sarastirtham Mahadvartate. In the western side there is a big lake called Narayana. Yatra Sindhor Nadyaha Samudrasya Cha Sangama. This is where the river Sindhu, which actually gives the word Hindu, it meets the sea, means the river is entering into the sea there. Yattan Udyatan. And all these people, they were assembled there. So then Narada, he came there. So if somebody is fit for spiritual life, then God will somehow arrange for him or her to meet the right teacher. So this we see many times. In case of Dhruva, this happened. Prahlad. Now we're seeing here Haryashvas. Previously we read about Prachetas. They also met Shiva. So he speaks to them as follows. Vachachat Haryashvaha Katham Shakshatha Vai Prajaha Adrishtvantam Bhuvo Yuyam Balishabat Palakaha. So he spoke to them in the following way. He said, O Haryashvas, instead of saying 1, 2, 3 to 10,000, he just called them by one word, Haryashva, in plural. Says that you want to create, but how can you create when you have not seen the end of earth? He says you are Balisha, you are stupid. You want to be the palaka, you want to be the creator, you want to be the caretaker of the children, but you have no intelligence. So why you don't have intelligence? Because you don't know where the earth is ending, and you want to have children. So this is the mysterious question. What is the relationship? Because if you have children, you are 10,000, you will have at least 10,000 children, and if they get lost, how will you search them? Right? Something like that. Unless you have a GPS system. So you have to know the map of the earth. If you have cows and you take them to the forest for grazing, and you don't know anything about the forest, then you are going to lose your cows. So you are going to have children and don't know anything about this earth. So he says, you are just stupid. Balisha. Because he already said that he is going to speak words just to confuse them, so that they start thinking, what is he saying? We don't understand. Sometimes when some people give lecture and they don't understand anything, they say he gave a very nice talk. Right? And then you ask, what did he say? Well, I didn't understand. So there are two types of good talks which you understand and it is good, and you don't understand. That is a very good talk. So now he is saying some things they don't understand. So the idea behind is that the children will think that maybe we are stupid, and he says he must have some wisdom behind it. So let's listen to him. So trying to make the other person feel down, so that they can listen. So basically, of course, he didn't want to confuse them, but he wanted to deviate them from this austerity. This is what austerity is. Aradhito yadi hari tapsatat kim, naradhito yadi hari tapsatat kim. If you do not worship Krishna, what is the use of austerity? And if you worship Krishna, what is the use of austerity? So austerity is useless. Right? What will you gain by austerity if you don't worship God? And what will you gain by austerity if you are worshipping God? You already gained what you want. So I thought these people are nice people, clean-hearted, simple, well-behaved, obedient. They are fit to become devotees, because this is the quality of a devotee. Devotee is humble, simple, straightforward. So why they have to do this harsh thing, troubling the body? So karshayante sharirastam bhutagramam achetase mam chaivanta sharirastam. So tan vidhi asurnasyan, Krishna says, unnecessarily troubling the elements in the body by doing this austerity, and also troubling me situated in the body. He says, no, these type of people are asuras. Therefore he thought, Shuddhanta karnayate moksha dharmadhikarinaha anurodhat pitu kasmad atra majjanti karmani. He says, look, these people are all pure-hearted, and they are fit to take to the path of moksha. So for qualified, what is the qualification for a person to take to path of moksha? The first thing is renunciation, vairagya. Because without vairagya, if somebody is materially attached, it's not qualified for moksha. So vairagya, and then vivek, to have discrimination between matter and spirit. and titiksha, tolerant, and then obedient, faith, surrender. So these are the qualifications. So he said that they have all these qualities. So why should they take to karma marg? So there is path of karma, there is path of moksha. Both have their own qualification, different paths for different qualifications. So this is what he is thinking, that they are qualified for a higher path, why should they go for the lower one? So they are doing it because their father has told them. Their father is also on the path of karma, but he has sons who are fit to follow moksha, so why should they listen to the father? So usually, according to Vedic culture, one should respect father's order.
This is the meaning of being obedient, right?
Yes. But obedient to whom? That is the
Yeah.
thing. Whether obedient to the person who is following the karma or one who is following the moksha marga. Path of karma or path of moksha. So one can disobey the father if father is on the path of karma and one is qualified for moksha, then one can do that. Then it is not a defect. So just like the Kumaras, Brahma created, first he created the 4 sons called Kumaras, and then he told them that now you create, and they flatly refused. Because they are also qualified for moksha, and he said, why you have to do it? So Brahma got angry. But nowhere it is said that they were wrong. So in such a situation, one can disobey. Anurod is not. So that's why it says Anurodhat Pitu Kasman, because the purpose of life is not karma marga. Nivritti esha bhutanam pravrittistu mahafal. The natural tendency of human being is nivritti, karma marga. We all have material desires, our senses are always desiring something and you try to fulfill them. But one who has naturally no inclination for sense gratification, then that is the path of nivritti. Pravritti esa bhutanam nivrittistu mahafala. So that nivritti is a superior path, path of detachment. Tadiman mochye tattvam updishyev gudhavak iti karaniko vacha kutan stana Narada. So Narada thought that therefore I will liberate them by instructing them in the reality through my deep statements, or statements which have hidden meaning. Gudhavak. So it is with this intention that he spoke to them these mysterious words out of compassion. So he said, He Haryashvaha bhavo antam drishtva prajaha katham sakshate. That without seeing the end of the earth, how will you create? So a person will start thinking about this question. Vyakhyatu esham swameva agre karshate. He says the meaning of this statement will come later on. He asked him 10 questions like this, one after another we will read. And after hearing this, these kids, they say, we don't know. He says, when you don't know, then listen to me. I will tell you. So that's why he was speaking. Tasmat yuyam balisha murkha. Therefore you are foolish because you don't know. And you don't know and you don't know that you don't know. So you are doubly foolish. Yato balaka, because you are just simple babies. And palaka, there are two readings, balusha balaka and balusha palaka. So if it is balaka, then you are young boys, and otherwise palaka. Iti pathe prajanam palaka api yuyam balusaya. That although you think that you are the royal people, or you will rule over people and you will create progeny, but you are foolish. Batiti vishmaye. The word bat is used in the sense of surprise. It says, I am surprised that foolish people like you are thinking of creating. तथैक पुरुषम राष्ट्रम बिलं च दृष्ट निर्गमम बहुरूपां स्त्रियं चापि पुमांशं पुंसलीपतिं नदीमुभयतो वाहां पंचाद्भुतं गृहं क्वचिदहंसं चित्रकथं शौरपव्यं स्वयं भ्रमिं कथं स्वपुतिरादेशम् अविद्वांसो विपश्चितः अनुरूपम अविज्ञाय अहो सर्गम करिष्यत. And then there is one person, you know that, there is one country, and there is one hall. You enter it, you don't come. Adrishtanirgam, you go inside, no one comes out of it. You know that? Bahurupam striyam, you know a woman who takes many forms. And you know a man who is the husband of a prostitute. And do you know a river which flows both ways? This way also, that way also. So do you know that? And these kids are just looking at it. Say, no. You know this? No. No. Say, then what are you doing here? Say, you stupid guys. Do you know the house made from 25 elements? What is it? You know house, but whether it is made from 25, I don't know. At least this we know. Little bit. Kaschid Hansam Chitrakatham, when you have seen some very strange swine and stalks, and Chaurapavyam Swayam Brahmin, and one disc. So they said, no, you don't know any of this. He said, then how will you create? Katham swapitura desha avidvanso pasita. He said, then how will you create following the order of your father who is a learned man and you are completely ignorant? He said, how you ignorant fools can follow the order of your father who is learned? He said, this is very strange. Anurupam avigyaya aho sarvam karishate. He says, without knowing, without understanding, you just left home, let's do austerity. Then you'll think you'll create. He says, I have never seen anybody foolish like you. So these guys, they were now totally mesmerized by him. You see? Ekaiva purusho yatra tad rashtram. One person in the whole country, only one. Ityadi dutyantanam avigyaya katham sargam karishyate. So he said all these things. He says, knowing, without knowing all these things, one river flowing from both sides, how will you create? Ubhyatavaham ubhyadik pravahavatim. So river is flowing down also and river is flowing up also. Both things. And panchapanchanam panchavinsti tattvanam adbhutam griham. So have you seen a house made from 25 elements? This wonderful house. Vishnum param sadgunya pradatvat bhaktanam tani tatraiva sthatum arhanti iti bhava. So it says that the devotees deserve to stay there because it is Vishnu who has the most wonderful qualities. Shurai Pavibhir Vajraischa Nirvitam Tikshnam, and this sharp disc Kamapi Vastu. So, says you don't know all this. And then Sukdev Goswami says, Tan Nishamyat Haryashva Autapattika Manishaya Vacham Kutam tu Devarshi Swayam Mimbrishur Dhiya. So after hearing these words of Narada, these Haryashvas were intelligent by birth. So this I don't know what is it called in English. In Sanskrit we call it prahelika, where you make some statement and you have to decode the meaning. It used to be very popular in olden days in India. People just sitting together and they make a sloka which has some deeper meaning, and then you have to explain. Riddle. So basically these are statements which are like riddles. So when they heard these riddles, then they started thinking that what is actually meaning. So they started deliberating. And this is what they are thinking aloud. One by one. It says, Bhu Kshetram Jiva Sangyam Yadanadi Nija Bandhanam Adrishtya Tasya Nirvanam Kima Satkarami Bhave. So he says that this body, which we have the gross body and the subtle body, this is called Jiva. It is also called field. This is the earth. Field, earth, same thing. So Bhukshetram, because just as you put seeds in the ground and they come up, in the same way with this body, you perform action which are like the seeds and they give reaction later on. So therefore body is called Kshetra or field. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram iti avidhiyate. That the body or Sharira is called Kshetra, the land. So they say that this body is the land and Anadi Nijabandhana. And the Jiva is bound to it and the bondage has no beginning. So it is said here in Bhagavatam itself, Anadi Nijabandhana. It's not that you came from somewhere, from Vaikuntha or from, what is it called? Tatastha region. Somewhere in between. Or from Karna ocean. Different theories. So nothing like that. It's Anadi. Anadi means no beginning. So it's bound. And if you don't understand this, how will you become liberated? And if you don't become liberated, what is the use of all your activities? Kim asat karam bhi bhavet. All these slokas are ending. Kim asat karam bhi bhavet. What is the meaning of your asat karma? Or your activities in temporary which are not related with spiritual upliftment, they are called asat karma. So he says, what will you gain from this? This is the question they are asking to themselves. And they are thinking Narada is right. So what will we do? We will perform austerities, then we will get married, then we will have children, then we have to bring them up, get them educated, get them married, find jobs for them. Then we die. So what happened? So for that reason he says that if one does not understand the end of this, which means end of this body means how to get rid of the bondage to this body. That is the meaning of seeing the end of earth. So then what will be the outcome of all these other activities? So vachaha kutam parokshvadena arthantram iva pratiyamam. So vachakuta means these words, these riddle statements which are having another meaning, indirect meaning. Direct meaning obviously does not make much sense. So sometimes Shastra is teaching through indirect statements. Many times we have seen in the Puranjan Upakhyan also we saw that story of Prachin Barhi. Narada met him also, and there also he told him a story of King Puranjana. Now we have the sons of Puranjani. Panchjani, son of Puranjani. So Naradoktani 10 vakyani Sukha bodhartham swameva vyachaste dasham. So the 10 riddles which Narada spoke for easy understanding, they themselves are repeating it and giving the meaning. Tatra adrishtvantam bhuva iti vyachaste bhavati. So first was that how can you create without knowing the end of the earth? So that is the first one. Kshetram tatraha jiva sangyam. Linga Sarira. So body here, the earth is specifically referring to the Linga Sharira or the subtle body. So we give up the gross body but not the subtle body. In the subtle body continue in the next gross body. So like this you continue from one birth to another birth, and subtle body is where your karma gets stored and your past experiences get stored. That's why you can remember sometimes past lives. So that karma from past lives may become manifest in this life or future lives, and then we create more karma, and this goes on without ending. So one who does not do an action to bring an end to this, his or her actions are useless. That's the meaning. Anadi, Adi Shunyam. So Adi Shunya means that it has no Adi, no beginning. Nijasya Jivatmano Bandhanam Yata, and is bound with the Linga Sharira. So inside the Linga Sharira is the Jivatma, the self. So Linga Sharira or the subtle body is the link, is the intermediate thing between the self and the gross body. There is self, there is Linga Sharira, the subtle body, and then the gross body. Nirvana mantam jnanena nasam. So if one does not know nirvana or how to bring an end to this Linga Sharira, to this subtle body, then what will one gain by one's action? In other words, one should work only for moksha, not for anything else. Asata karma bhi avastavahi karma nirvanartham eva pratyut yatatmati. So he says that all these other activities are avastava. They don't give you anything real. Real in the sense anything which is sustainable. You perform activities in your life, whatever you achieve is not sustained. Comes to an end. And the only thing which you get from is some attachment to things. Either positive attachment or negative attachment. liking or disliking, raga and dvesha, and that impels you to act further, wherever you go, in whichever form you go. So therefore it says that one should endeavor only for karma nirvana, how to get freedom from karma. That is the only useful thing you can do in your life. Everything else is waste of time and waste of an opportunity. Simple message. Take it or leave it. Hmm? Nirvana means freedom from karma. Bana means arrow, so arrow of suffering, and nirvana means getting freedom from that arrow. एकैवेश्वरस्तुर्यो भगवान् स्वाश्रयः परः तमदृष्ट्वा भवं पुंसः किमसत्कर्मभिर्भवेत्. So he had said earlier that there is one country and there is only one person. So he says that there is only one Lord who is transcendental to everything and who is his own support. It's not dependent on anybody. And he is the Turiya, he is the fourth. He exists in the fourth direction. Fourth dimension, right? So you have
fifth. We have already four.
Fourth
Free
is
plus time.
Fourth is time.
We have free and time. So overall four. So he should be outside. So
Fifth. Here we say fourth because we have wakeful state, dream state and deep sleep state. And he is beyond that. So that is called fourth. So deep sleep is already beyond time. It's included. Your XYG are only in wakeful state and dream state. And the dreamless state is beyond time state. And he is even beyond that. So he says that if you do not see him and thus bring an end to your material existence, what are you doing? What are you doing by this tapasya or anything else? So everybody is doing tapasya because you want to do a job in the office is some tapasya. Right? Early morning getting up, don't feel like, then running, catching a train or driving, and being there and back. Right? It's a big tapasya. So for what? So he says, if you don't know this Purusha, tathaek Purusham Rashtram iti yadachaste eka iti Turyam Vishwa Tejas Pragyebhyo Bhinnas Chaturtha. So there are three names for the Jiva when he is in the wakeful state and identifying with the gross body, and the Jiva is called Vishwa. When he is dreaming and identifying with the mind, he is called Taijasa. And when he is free from these two and in the deep sleep state, he is called Pragya. And beyond this is the Turiya state, the fourth state. That is Lord. So he says, without knowing him, you are only in these three states of Vishwa, Tejas and Pragya. So that is not going to lead you anywhere. You just keep on moving in these three states. Sometimes you are awake and you have this one world. And then you dream, you go into another world. and then for some time you are in your own self, but you don't stay there for very long. You come back again, dream, again wake up. So you keep on fluctuating like a pendulum in these states, but you want to get out of this. So Rashtram Jagat iti game, Rashtra is the universe. Abhavam na vidyate bhava samsaro bhaktanam itasti. So, not to have birth, the devotees don't take birth again in the material world. Adrishtva bhajnair apratikshi kritya. So, without seeing, without experiencing, by engaging in bhajan or devotional activities, then it is useless. Tena tameva bhajata iti bhava. So the meaning is that forget about these austerities and engage in the bhajan or devotional activities. Puman neveti yad gatva bilasargam gato yatha Pratyak dhama vidaiha kima satkarma bhir bhavet. So he says that once you go to that place, you don't come back. You know that place? And he says if you don't endeavor for that, which is the abode of the Lord, then what are you doing? So that is the place called Vaikuntha, or spiritual planet, and anyone who goes there does not come back to this material world.
I'm wondering if people who report near-death experiences somehow go there, but they come back.
No, they don't.
Where they go?
They are still within the material world. They have not become liberated.
But they report very, very peculiar things.
Oh, this world has so many peculiarities in this world. So there only if you are a devotee you can go there, not otherwise. You have to be completely free from material desires and have only one desire to be with the Lord. Then only you can enter there. And once you enter, no coming back. It's a one-way traffic. So yadgatvana nivartante tad dhama paramam. Krishna says after reaching that abode, you don't have to come here. Na tad bhasete suryo na shashanko na pava. So it's not lit by the light of sun or moon or fire. It's self-effulgent. Therefore it is called Pratyak Dham.
What are you doing there?
What to do? You play with God. Become one of his associates. So bilamcha drishtu nirgamam iti vyachaste pumaniti. So this bill or this hole is adrishtu nirgamam, where you don't see the gate for going out. There is no exit, only entrance in there. Yat pratyak dhama praticho bhagavato dhama vaikuntha. So that is the abode of Lord called Vaikuntha. Gatva prapya na punaveti na punaravarte. Once you enter there, you do not return. Bilasvargam patalam gato yatha tatre vasanjati sthati. So just like sometimes people go to Patala, it's a lower heavenly planet. So one can go and live there for a long time. Of course from there you come out, there is no eternal residence. Avidaha avidusho janasya tena vaikuntha prapte etad bhamiti. So he says, if you do not know, then you are ignorant, and therefore you should only endeavor for this. So he is saying you should endeavor for moksha, should endeavor for devotion you should endeavor to go to Vaikuntha. They all mean same basically. In other words, don't endeavor for the karma marga. So we'll stop here, we will continue with the other riddles, what they mean. We'll read that one. There is any question?
You mentioned something about past life, and you said that some people remember this. It seems to be the fact. I'm wondering why some little minority of people do remember this and others don't.
Well, sometimes it's people usually, if you have read the stories of people who remember, usually they all died in some accident.
Sometimes, yeah.
Either they were murdered, they were killed, or they got burnt or something. This is the usually case. So it means they did not die natural death. And in such a case, some of the impressions, they are so strongly restored that they continue in the next life. Because they were not planning to die. Usually when you die, you become old and you know that I'm going to die now. So you are somewhat prepared, you like or you don't like, but at least you get a sense of it or feeling about death. So in such cases, sometimes because of the deep impressions, they continue in the next life, but even in the next life they don't remember all the time. Only in the very early childhood, and they also forget. And these samskaras become covered up.
But I think normally you're not supposed to remember because it's a big disturbance, you cannot function in your karma.
That's why they also don't remember once they grow up, they also forget.
The kind of tapasya, because sometimes in the scriptures they say then somebody went in the forest or made some tapasya. So how is it for us? Is it always that this that we have this was heißt mal vorgeschrieben? Prescribed. That we make the prescribed tapasya, or is it because sometimes people choose themselves the kind of tapasya they make?
Yeah, of course, that's what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, that Shastra Vihitam Ghoram Tapyante Tapojana Dambha Ahankar Samyukta Kamaraga Balam. Those who are performing tapasya, which is ashastra vihitam, not prescribed. So then he says that does not lead to benefit. He actually calls us people like asuras. Vidhitan asura nischaya. So if you do tapasya, that also should be prescribed in Shastra, not you concoct something through your own mind.
I'm wondering, are they not referring to yogis?
Mm.
When they say Narada, when they say that you don't need tapasya is not a good thing. Is he not having in mind yogis for tapasya?
See, yogis also, but here they are not yogis. Here they are specifically doing it so that they become proficient.
Yeah, it's prescribed. It's prescribed tapasya what they are doing.
They are doing prescribed tapasya, they are ordered by their father. But even that, because they are doing it for a lower cause. That's why I am asking them, there is no need to do tapasya for this, you are qualified something higher. It's like you are a student and you can actually go into the higher class, but your father admits you in a lower grade. teacher says that actually you don't deserve to be in this class. I want to upgrade you. So Narada is doing that, he's upgrading me.
Is there a specific meaning that they went to the west to do their austerities? Or they were told to go west to do their austerities?
Yeah, maybe their father ordered them. I don't know where exactly they were situated. The father did in some Agamarshan Tirtha, which I think is central India, if I'm not wrong. But I don't know exactly where he was personally. Maybe he was in this part of the country. He went to west. Sindhu river was also good river.
In many stories they talk about one person having so many children. Is it just for for literary, as a literary device?
No, as I said, that these people were
attention.
also producing not just through sexual union, but they had the ability to produce and clone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just literary in this case. That's why he's called Daksha. Just like I said, he's an expert. The word Daksha means expert. Means he's expert in this job of creation, producing children. So obviously he had only one wife. So he didn't produce through the normal process. That will take at least 10,000 years.
But they also say they live like this.
Hmm?
It's also said that some live.
Yeah, but these kids seem to be of same age.
Yeah, okay.
It's not that one is 10,000 year old and the other one is 1 year old kid. So he must have used, even if he used his own semen or something, combined them, produced. That's how he must have done it.
You are talking Jiva is anadi, always here, not coming from any region, like Tatastha region or Vaikuntha or anywhere. But sometimes it is after creation is finished, every material enter into the Mahavishnu. And at the beginning of creation, Mahavishnu grants as Mahatattva, and then everything coming out. So I don't understand this so much.
Yeah, because it's just when creation is closed, then all the material elements, they become unmanifest, and the jivas along with their karma, they also, everything enters into Lord's body. So they are not, now the jivas were already here, they go into Lord's body, and then he takes them out.
Again takes.
So their jivas are not coming from somewhere else, they were already here.
I see.
So it's like you have your house, and then you have your office. So you go to your office, you come home, and you again go to office and come home.
I see.
So something similar we do at sleep. We sleep at night, we go in deep sleep, which is like dissolution. It is sometimes said that in deep sleep you are with God. In the Vedanta Sutra it says like that. And then you again come out. So that does not take you out of the material world.
My question was about this deep sleep actually. Because in deep sleep there are not Ritika, there are not no impression. So that means that we are situated in our natural state. Just like temporary. Why we don't remember anything, we don't have experience.
Yeah, what can you remember if there is no experience?
There is no experience.
Nakinchana Vedisham, Sukham Swapsam.
So it means the state of the soul is neutral state.
Yes.
But you see, at least in the medical science, they say brain, when we are awake, it's like an active state. It's like in a room you turn up light and you are in this active state in terms of energy, etc., process, activities, etc. And when you're asleep, it's like, you go to a passive state. Everything slows down, no activity. So it's like you turn off the light, you're in a dark room. So to say that when you're in this state, it's your natural state, it sounds strange to me.
Yeah, but whose natural state was that? Whose natural state I'm saying? I'm saying natural state of the soul, not natural state of your brain. It may not be natural state of your brain, but natural state of your own self.
I would say that both states are coming from nature. So they're both natural, they're just different.
What do you mean?
I mean the state when you are awake and the state when you are...
So when you are awake, that is not your natural state because you are identifying with the body.
Okay.
That's not your natural state, you are in the unnatural state. When you don't identify with anything, that's your natural state. And that may be a natural state for the body, but it's lying like that.
So, people who can, let's say, there was a way to torture people by not let them sleep, keeping them always awake when they were starting to sleep. So it means that at one point the mind has to naturally go to this state. Because a prolonged time where you cannot go in that particular state makes the mind imbalanced.
So what is your question?
So the question is that then means that it's like a necessity. It's necessary to forget. And why we feel refreshed when we basically forget all what is about the external world when we go in a place where we don't have any contact anymore with the outside world.
Because you are relaxing, you are taking rest.
You see, when you...
Yeah, but people are like,
You are engaging your senses.
there is no identification anymore, that's why there is a relaxing.
So see, if you have...
It means that the identification with body makes the person very tired also.
Yeah, because of course tired is only from the body. It's not that who's tired is the body. Senses get tired, it's like a machine.
It's like a machine. If you hold machine, a car, it becomes overheated, right? You need to cool it down.
So the living entities go into the body or enter the body of Mahavishnu at the time of dissolution with all their karma, and then in the next cycle of creation they come out again. So we see here this history that in the beginning of creation everybody was so qualified and having such an exalted life compared to the life now. So I'm just wondering, how does this dynamics of karma from past that the jiva took in from the past creation before it entered the Mahavishnu, how does this unfold again in a new creation? So does this mean that certain jivas with a turbulent karma or less qualified karma awaken later into the creation?
Yeah, of course, everybody is not awake at the same time.
those with the
But in the
first class
beginning-
karma, they awaken immediately, and those with
See,
the
it is-
10th class, they...
It is Brahma who is creating. So obviously when he is creating, he has some control over it because he is not an ordinary person. So he is choosing whom to create, whom to bring out. So naturally he does not want to bring out all the disturbed guys at that time, otherwise he will have a problem. So he brings out those who are much more qualified, who can help him in his work. Listen to him. And then later on it flows from that.
So that really means that some or a certain amount of jiva is just motionless, latent in the creation until
Yes.
their karma fits the time.
Yeah. So many of them. Not everything.
And it's not like a, like a process of degeneration.
See, in the Yoga Sutra also it is described that in this Prakriti Laya Videhanam, there are different types of meditations. Some people meditate on Prakriti, then they become merged in Prakriti, and then they can stay there for a very long time. But then they also have to come out at certain point. So that long time could be a whole day of Brahma. who knows. So then like that there are various types of yogis who meditate on different elements. They get merged in it, they stay there and they are brought out. Obviously a particular Atma or Jiva is brought out when there is a suitable atmosphere available for that. So now those people who have suitable karma for this atmosphere, they are taking birth now. The others took birth in other times.
Is this process will end sometime? Like everybody will come to Vaikuntha at some point?
Unlimited jivas. So everybody, it's not that the universe will never become vacant.